Hi, I'm Matt from Completely Fair Games, and today I wanted to show you the pre-alpha prototype of DwarfCorp, the game we're developing about capitalist dwarves in a fantasy world. Basically what I'm showing you is the prototype that we're releasing today on our Kickstarter to give you an idea of what the game is all about. Now, this prototype is something we've been developing for about a year in our spare time and on the weekends, and it doesn't contain all of the features that we want it to. And in fact, most of the features here are sort of incomplete and buggy, but I wanted to at least give you an idea of how the game is going to play, and we're probably going to be expanding this engine to include all of the features that we promised. Now, what you're seeing here is a balloon port where dwarves have been set down by a balloon to begin exploring this vast continent across the sea for dwarven industry. Now, the idea is that we're going to be building a colony and then sending back the goods that we got out of the earth back to the dwarven motherland for profit. So before we begin, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the controls and the world and what all you're looking at here, so you have more of an idea of how to play the prototype should you download it. So I'm going to start with the camera controls. Basically, you press W, A, S, and D, or the arrow keys to move the camera around forward, back, left, and right. You can also use the mouse wheel to go up and down, or sort of zoom in if you want. And the other thing you should note is that when you move the mouse around, this little cube moves around with it, and that's the currently selected voxel. Voxels are these squares, these cubes that make up the world. Everything in DwarfCorp is either a voxel or a sprite. A sprite is sort of a 2D image that's drawn to the screen. All of this stuff is voxels, the dwarves themselves are sprites, this is a sprite, etc. So you'll know what I'm talking about when I say that. The other thing you can do is hold shift, and this enters first person mode, and this sort of allows you to drag around the mouse to move the camera, and then when again you press W, A, S, D, or the arrow keys, you move the camera around as if you were flying through space. And so some other things we're looking at here, these are mountains, this is water, you can see the mountains reflected in the water and the grass and all of that. These are trees over here, these are flowers, that is a berry bush right there, which you can harvest for apples, so very confusing, I know. So the other major control that I can use is slices, and DwarfCorp uses a slice system to allow you to see underground, like the game Dwarf Fortress. You can go up and down slices by pushing these up and down buttons or with the page up and page down keys, but that's a little bit harder to use than just this other method, which I'll show you in a little bit. What you can see here is the current slice, which is 48 out of 48. That tells you basically the highest level of the world that we can look at. Or actually more like the lowest level that we can look at. And currently we can look at all of the levels. There's 48 of them. This top level is probably around 20, and so mountains can be about twice as high as this one. So what I'm going to do is just use this other control for going up and down slices, which is to mouse over a voxel and then just push Q. And when I push Q, the whole world is sliced at the level that I have selected. Now I can go up one more level from where I have selected by pushing E. And so you can very quickly go up and down levels by pushing Q and E. Some other videos that I saw of the game, they didn't really realize that you could do this, and they were spending all their time pushing up and down, which is kind of annoying. And so you can see when you slice off the world, these trees are literally sliced off. And anything above this is not rendered, anything below is. And so what we're looking at here is basically the inside of this mountain. The black part here is the stuff that isn't hit by sunlight. It's what you would see basically if you had sliced open the mountain and sort of looked at it without the light shining on it. And inside the mountain you can see ore. This is some iron ore, and right here this is mana rock. Iron ore is used to build, let's say, weapons and armor. Mana rock is used to equip your wizards with spells. Right now there are no wizards or weapons in the game, so you can just ignore that for now. Mana rock is the most expensive ore in the game, and for some reason it's very common in the prototype. Iron is a little bit more expensive than stone, but not as expensive as mana rock. And there's one more ore that's currently in the game, and that's gold, and that's extremely rare, and I probably won't even see it here. It actually might even be, it might be around here, but I can't see it. Anyway, so what I'm going to start doing is mining. And so in DwarfCorp, the whole point is to build sort of a colony underground, mine out all of the stuff, and then send it back for profit. So I'm just going to start mining, and the way I can do that is by using these controls down here. These are the designation controls. This is mine, chopping is used to chop trees, guard, basically just tell the dwarf to go to an area, stock creates stockpiles for dwarves to gather goods, and build is used for building rooms and walls. Now these buttons are pretty ugly. They come from a Creative Commons pack. I've linked that pack in the comments, but we're likely to upgrade it in the future with our own stuff. Wow, I've been talking so long that it's starting to become night. The sun is setting and the sky is turning orange, and you can see the moon rising over there. But anyway, I can control the time by pressing Z and X. That's not going to be in the final game, but it's something that I use for development. I'm just going to make it daytime again because it's easier to see. There we go. It's about noon now. The sun's at the top of the sky. Okay, so I'm just going to start mining here. And to do that, I just click and drag, and that produces mine designations. And here, these dwarves have been the only two that have been assigned to these, and they're just going to jump up here. They can cut off because of the slice. And they're just mining, just sort of chopping out and mining these voxels here. And these animations are placeholders. Wilson is probably crying right now just looking at them. Here we go, and they're just mining, and I can drag out rooms, sort of like D&D, and they can just start building these rooms. I'm going to sort of delete some of these by right-clicking. You can delete any designation by right-clicking and dragging, just so it doesn't eat my frame rate as they're planning to all of those. And there we go, just mining out. And you can see now that they've mined out this area, there's these floating ores. These are iron, and this is stone. And so what I'm going to do now is basically build another room, which will become my stockpile. And I'm just going to drag this out. And this will just take some time. I might edit it out as they're sitting here mining out each individual block. Okay, now this room is mined out. I'm going to build a stockpile. And a stockpile is just an area where dwarves will put goods, and those will be registered with the game, and they know that those goods exist. So now that I've dragged out this stockpile using click and drag, it's sort of glowing, and I can actually tell the dwarves to gather things and put them in the stockpile. These goods are already in the stockpile. Eventually I'll make it so that it automatically realizes that, but I'm just going to have them sort of pick up these things, and they're going to pick them up and put them in the stockpile. There we go. Let me pick up some iron as well over here. And there we go, just sticking it into the stockpile. Now that I have goods in my stockpile, I can sell them. So let me go up a few slices. There we go, just rebuilding all the slices. And now I can click here to order goods. There's a cycle of the balloon as it goes to and from the motherland. I sped it up about 10x, and basically it'll glow yellow when you can do something. When it's at the colony, you can sell goods. When it's at the motherland, you can buy goods. It's probably going to change in the future to make it easier to control, but for now it's just on a fixed cycle, and you just sort of click here when the balloon comes to your colony, and you click here when it goes back to the motherland to buy goods. So on the left here, we can see all the goods that are in all of my stockpiles. On the right, there's all the goods that are in the motherland, and since the balloon is at the colony right now and not at the motherland, there are no goods here. And basically what I can do is drag goods to the balloon in order to sell them. And so let me drag like 4 stone and maybe 2 iron, and it lists the price down here that we're putting into the balloon, and you can see the total amount of money that we're getting from this order, a whopping $9. So let's just order that, and the balloon will come by. Hopefully the dwarves will pick up the, yeah, there they go. They picked up the goods from the stockpile, and now they're going to put them on the balloon port. Here they go. There we go. They put them all there. And hopefully the balloon should be showing up. Here it is, coming out of the clouds, I guess, and just coming down to the balloon port, and it will then pick up those goods. Bam. And now you can see we have $4.88 more because these dwarves were too slow and failed to bring the iron in time. Good job, dwarves. Anyway, so that's selling. Buying works basically the same way. You get it from the motherland, goods come, you lose money. That's how you make money in this game. It's going to get more advanced. There's going to be a stock market, better ways of buying and selling, but this is just what we threw together for the prototype. Again, we didn't have a lot of time to make this, so I hope you can bear with us in what we made so far. Anyway, I guess next I can show you how building works, so let me go back down here to the slice where we have our colony, and let me just tell them to, I have some stone here, I'll just click build here, and here's all the things you can build. There are rooms and walls. Walls, basically they place voxels down, and rooms allow them to designate an area, and that will generate different rooms that dwarves can interact with. Balloon ports, you can build more balloon ports so that you can send more goods to and from the motherland. Bedrooms, so that your dwarves can sleep, and dwarves will own bedrooms and be able to put their goods inside the bedrooms. Common rooms or drinking halls are where dwarves go to relax and drink. Workshops allow you to build traps and mechanisms and things of that nature. Training rooms allow you to build attack units, military units, and upgrade them. They gain XP through hitting dummies in the training room. Libraries allow your wizards to research new spells for you to use. Wheat farms and mushroom farms are used to grow food for your dwarves to eat. The bad news is that none of these things do anything. You can build them, it'll make sprites, it'll change the floor, but none of these rooms are implemented yet, so I'm really sorry about that, but we just haven't had time to put these into the prototype yet. So what I am going to build is a stone wall, and I'm just going to lay down a couple of voxels here, and you sort of get the picture. These voxels are placed in this place, and the dwarves will come and pick them up. Here they come. Going to come and pick up these stones and put them on the walls. For some reason, this dwarf is completely confused and has no idea what he's doing and is just standing in the corner. But this dwarf is on the task. He's a good employee, and he just put down those 2 stone blocks. Anyway, just rinse and repeat, and you'll be able to build all kinds of things using that mechanism. All right, a few more things that I wanted to show. It's starting to become night again. You can see this moon. Let's look at water now. Now, in order to show you water, I'm just sort of going to go into God mode. This is not going to be in the final game, but it's just a tool. I'm just going to make it daytime again so it's easier to see. It's just a tool that I use during development. God mode allows me to do things like delete things, place blocks, and place entities and things like that. I'm just going to go press G to enter God mode, and it gives me a list of things to do. It's really not a great interface. And I'm just going to delete some blocks here. And as I delete them, you can see it fills in with this water, sort of. The water is not where I want it to be. It's not as fast as I'd like it to be, and it sort of evaporates too quickly. But we do have sort of a dynamic water engine, and it's finite. There's a finite amount of liquid in the world, and it will fill up areas and evaporate over time. I can also fill things with water by clicking and dragging. There's also lava, of course, and if I go down beneath the earth, whoosh, you can see caves down here, and these caves are filled with lava. You can see them here naturally. Eventually, if your dwarves fall into lava, they will die and light on fire, and lava will set things on fire. Right now, none of that happens. It's basically just water that's been reskinned. But one cool thing that lava does is if it hits water, it generates stone. So I'll just place lava here. It's hitting the water, and you can see it's generating stone as it hits the water there. And now all that's left is the stone, the little bits of stone. If I push it right here in the middle of the water, it creates stone as usual. Just pretty cool, I guess. If you create a sort of channel and then fill the channel with lava, the lava will spread just like water, and it will have this little fire. Fire is sort of in the game right now, but it basically never happens unless you enter God mode. I can enter here, go to fire, select an area. These trees will light on fire and eventually be destroyed. So you can also chop down trees and harvest berry bushes by using this tool chop over here. I'm going to demonstrate that right here on this pine tree and this berry bush. Now berry bushes unfortunately emit apples, and right now dwarves can't even eat apples, so I'm not even sure why you would harvest them. And so yeah, they just go up to the trees and sort of hit them until they explode, you know, just like real trees. There we go. Another thing I wanted to show you was combat. Now, combat isn't fully implemented, it's just something we've thrown together over the past few weeks, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how it feels. The enemies are supposed to spawn at villages or in underground mines, but right now the only way to spawn enemies is to use God mode. So I'm just going to go over here and spawn a goblin and just stick him right next to our dwarves. And the dwarves should hopefully, yep, there they go. They start to fight him. And he's not getting in many hits there. Wow, he is going to lose really hard. Yeah, he just died. I'll just spawn a few more and you can see them sort of bash into each other until they're dead, which is basically how combat works right now. Yeah, there they go. Just spewing blood everywhere. Listen to those great sound effects we have. That's SFXer. Oh, I guess you guys can't hear the sound effects. That's a good thing. Anyway, so combat is probably going to be way more advanced. We're going to have ranged units, we're going to have training, we're going to have all kinds of things. That's just the basic start of things. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you about generating worlds. Basically, when you start the game, you hit Generate World, and this gives you a few options. The seed controls basically how the world will generate. It starts at 0. The world will be exactly the same for every same seed that you give it. So if you give it seed 3, it's going to be the same every time. The seed I'm just going to put is DwarfCorp. You can also control the rainfall, temperature, and number of faults in the world. It's not really important how these work, but you can just play with them to see how it works. If you hit generate, this thing will just go through and tell you what it's doing. Biomes, faults, basically controls where the features of the world are. Weathering is like rainfall, stuff like that. It's not really important what's happening, it just tells you what's going on. And this bar, when it completes, it will be done. And now it's generated this world. You can see, and when you click, this is where your colony will be founded. You can see by dragging this display bar around different features of the world. So height is just like how tall mountains are. It goes from this very low ocean to this very tall mountain in white. Biomes, different colors correspond to different types of terrain. This darker green is forest. This brown is deserts. There's an even darker green that I don't see here that's jungles. And the light green is grassland, white is taiga, and pink is tundra. Taiga and tundra are different in that taiga has trees, tundra doesn't. Orange is volcanoes. So there's 2 volcanoes really close to each other right here. Down here there's another volcano. Now blue is rivers. Rivers are currently taken out of the game because they cause massive flooding, and I haven't figured out how to solve that yet, so they're currently out of the game, but you can still see where rivers would occur. And basically you just click anywhere and spawn. There are a few more things like temperature and rainfall. They're not going to tell you that much, and erosion, of course. Another cool thing that you can look at is the underlying faults in the game, and basically where it's bright, that's where the terrain is high, more or less, and where it's this blue is where the terrain is low and where oceans will occur. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed a look at our little game here. We don't have everything done yet by any means, but hopefully this will give you an idea of what the game is all about. And happy playing!